Released by Atlus in 2006 on the PlayStation 2, Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner Raidou Kuzunoha vs. the Soulless Army would be the third entry in the Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner sub-series. Directed by Kazuyuki Yamai and written by Shigeo Komori, the game would be a supernatural detective story while featuring real-time combat encounters wherein demons can be captured and summoned again in and out of battle. The story only gets larger from here, so let's cut it down to size with a recapitation. As the game begins, it's the year 1931 during the 20th year of the Taisho period of Japan, where a young man seeks to earn his place as the next devil summoner of the Kuzunoha clan. Demonstrating his skill with a sword in confining then converting demons into allies, the young man combines the proficiencies to put a larger demon to rest. Passing the trial, the new summoner is bestowed the title of Raidou Kuzunoha the 14th and is ordered to the capital to defend the land. The clan also assigns him a partner, a distinct green-eyed cat named Goto Doji, who is less than impressed at the rookie successor. As the pair learns from the Herald of Yatagarasu, the capital is unstable due to a rising population. At the same time, the boundary between this world and the Dark Realm is weakening, so demons will start to appear due to the darkness and vulnerability in the hearts of humans, so Raido must protect the people. Normally, humans are forbidden from entering the Dark Realm, but Raido is an exception as a devil summoner. In addition, he will have an assistant in the capital by the name of Narumi and work in Narumi's detective agency as a detective. Arriving in the capital, formerly called Edo, Raido sees the city is modernizing quickly with Western influence alongside expansive industrialization. However, even though man has forgotten the old gods and spirits of the lands, they still linger as the occult, and such cases are what Narumi's detective agency specialize in. One day, Narumi and Raido meet with a new client, a distressed high school girl, and are shocked to hear her ask them to kill her. Before she can explain why, a flashbang grenade blinds them all as a group of masked soldiers in red attack them, kidnap the girl, and easily fend off Raido long enough to secure their objective. Raido spots a dropped butterfly brooch as Narumi remarks there is a rumor about people disappearing and reappearing on that bridge. Thinking this incident is certainly strange enough to investigate, they take the case as Raido passes by Detective Kazuma, who seems to be looking into related matters. Using a demon's influence to loosen the policeman's tongue, Raido learns she is a member of the distinguished Daidoji family. Going to the family residence, Raido learns the girl's name is Kaya, as her uncle Kiyoshi says she disappeared about 10 days ago when her father's illness got worse. He adds Kaya was next in line to head the prestigious family and asks Raido to help find her too, as the detective uses demons invisible to the human eye to investigate restricted sections. Finding a school photo, Raido talks to Kaya's classmates at Orin High, and when one wishes to say something, she is somehow immediately sent to the Dark Realm. In order to pursue her, Goto tells Raido to quickly return to Shinoda Shrine, where the Herald has the power to send them into the Dark Realm. Finding the demon that took her, the Devil Summoner learns the shifting phases of the moon have a direct effect on the power of a demon, hearing this trap was set up just for him by someone else. Overcoming the ambush, the girl is saved and returned to the real world as she shares a secret Kaya told her that when girls in the Daidoji family turn 16, a demon possesses them until it's killed. She also recites a strange song Kaya used to sing that suggests she's imprisoned in an abyss somewhere like her home's basement. Preparing for battle, Raido visits a unique antique shop that not only sells enchanted bullets but also has access to the Goma Den, where an eccentric scientist named Victor conducts demon fusion. Finding a hidden basement under the Daidoji residence, Raido finds a prison cell guarded by demons with Kaya's diary detailing how the uncle was suffering from debt, was eyeing his brother's inheritance, and Kaya was forced into this cell. Seeking to confront the uncle, they overhear him talk to another man about a deal he made to sacrifice his brother to wipe his debt. However, when they confront Kiyoshi, they learn he wanted to stop his brother from killing Kaya and save the workers at his factory, but he suddenly stumbles over and spontaneously mutates into a demon himself. Raido dodges a piercing beam as Kiyoshi flees with incredible speed, but before Raido can pursue, he is paused by a mysterious man who says he's seen too much and summons a demon to kill the detective. Raido survives another ambush as the mysterious man takes his leave and Goto is intrigued that they are fighting another devil summoner. A few days pass with no new developments in the Kaya case as the office receives a visit from a reporter Narumi knows named Tae, who shares a photo she took of a local phenomenon called the Red Cape. Goto recognizes it as the monster Kiyoshi turned into, and they accept her case to catch the Red Cape. Traveling to Ginzo, they learn there's something strange in the neighborhood that's causing automobile accidents as Raido's investigation leads him to bashing Yakuza in a bathhouse and pressing the boss Satake. Satake says he already knows what's going on in the capital, mentioning the mob is better at finding people, adding that the Red soldiers have been sniffing around Skid Row recently. Raido checks it out, finding an unusual amount of soldiers there, and chooses to let himself get captured to see if they take him to where they took Kaya. Finding himself in a prison in the Dark Realm, Raido grants himself an early release, managing to defeat a red soldier for the first time. He also rescues a rickshaw runner named Denpachi they were looking for, but before the runner shares what he knows about Kiyoshi, he asks Raido to find his missing sister Shizu too. As it turns out, Satake knows where Shizu is as she took a job in the red light district to pay for the hospital bill for her taxi driver husband who suffered a strange accident. Shizu then asks Raido to find out who attacked her husband as Tae passes by saying she's been tracking Red Cape sightings and has noticed a pattern that he's seen every full moon. Narrowing down the likely spot for the next encounter, on the next full moon, Raido is met by a demonic taxi driver inside a wrecked cab, raging inside his machine due to the effects of the full moon. Forced to clash steel against steel, Raido calms him down as he sees Raido as not the person in a red cape he is looking for, giving him a rickshaw knob the red cape dropped that actually belongs to Denpachi's rickshaw. However, soon enough they spot the red cape as it dashes for the Dark Realm, giving chase themselves, and after dodging his deadly doubtful beams they subdue him and discover the red cape was actually Denpachi. Destroying the demon frees him from the possession as he has no memory of the transformation, only the heavy grudge of losing work to taxis in the modern times. Narumi arrives and says automobiles are not as bad as he thinks, plus his sister still believes in him, and with his heart healed, Denpachi reveals he once took Kiyoshi to a factory in Senjuku while saying it was his most cherished place. Back at the office, Narumi wonders how two acquaintances could both turn into Red Cape, wondering if there are more. Turning their attention to the Daidoji factory that went bankrupt, Narumi shares that Tae went ahead to check it out after the Red Cape was sighted there too. Arriving, they spot Kiyoshi's cane at the entrance, and Tae, though she faints upon seeing familiar floating dolls. The voice of the same mysterious devil summoner rings out, saying Kiyoshi is in the back room, but leaves the key to unsealing it in a deadly matrix labyrinth. Taking the obvious bait, Raido finds other factory workers lost down here too as he clears the maze and breaks the warehouse door seal. Beyond is Kiyoshi in a state of shock and confusion, wishing to confess everything about his brother and niece, but forcefully, a monster violently emerges from his body, draining all of his life and tossing him aside. The new monster turns to look at Raido before leaving, as a mysterious man approaches Raido from the shadows, announcing himself as the Great Dark Summoner Rasputin. He immediately explains the object expelled from Kiyoshi's body is called a Hiruko, which is a monster that feeds on a person's fears and anxiety. As it grows, it slowly alters its host's body, so what they call Red Cape is just an advanced Hiruko. What they just witnessed was a fully grown Hiruko shedding its host as it enters the next phase of the project. With that, Rasputin stops, not wishing to break client confidentiality, though he does end by saying Kaya plays an important role too. With this, he takes his leave, covering his exit by tossing a Russian doll at Raido that summons a fearsome demon. Surviving the ordeal, Raido updates Narumi on the case as the Herald also arrives to share that Rasputin is a Russian monk who reportedly died 15 years ago. Regardless, he is a rogue dark summoner and a powerful one at that, urging caution. Narumi points out this doesn't change the fact that Rasputin is behind all the strange cases recently and so they must track him down. Unfortunately, this is easier said than done as there are no leads on Rasputin until the owner of the antique shop shows up to say his shipments have been literally disappearing, his supplier Harada has just died, and his hired help vanished into thin air, asking them to investigate. Narumi thinks this could be an opportunity to ask about Rasputin as well as Raido heads to Harumi asking about the stranger things going on from Harada's sister. Asking Satake, the boss replies that a man named Harada was a trade industry leader in Harumi and partnered with a prominent foreign merchant named Elfman until one day Harada suddenly died and Elfman shut out the Japanese so only foreigners could profit. Satake adds Elfman also has friends in the military so he effectively runs the port town and it's not hard to smuggle people in on the right ships. Returning to Harumi, Raido observes another shipment vanishing mysteriously, suspecting it is being taken into the Dark Realm, finding the vanished sailors there too. Discovering one of Rasputin's dolls on the scene of the crime, one of his summoned demons emerges to proclaim it stole all of the cargo as part of Rasputin's plan. Defeating it and rescuing the lost sailors and cargo, Raido is thanked by Harada's sister as she mentions Elfman has changed recently and has now started harboring illegal aliens and roughing up local merchants. She points them in the direction of where Elfman is now as Raido makes a deal with a Tarask and hears the cries of an anguished spirit. The ghost says it was recently killed by someone who said it would take over his trading company and assume his name and identity, as Goto verifies this is truly Elfman. Wondering why Elfman's corpse was quietly buried at this church, they step inside to ask when they overhear a man saying he is trying to return history to its natural course. They are surprised to be met by Rasputin himself, who casually confesses to killing Elfman as part of his plan. The Russian also adds Kaya is over in Kasumidai helping complete a super soldier project, but regrettably, he is in charge of security and eliminating nosy detectives, attacking Raido himself. The two summoners duel with their demons at their side as Raido edges out a win, shocking Rasputin as he explodes, only to reveal he was really an advanced machine. Unaware the digital devil summoner was better built than they thought, they leave to brief Narumi just as Tei arrives, saying she knows of a leaker who wants to talk about a secret super soldier project. Narumi finds this convenient timing awfully suspicious, sending Raido with Tei to meet with the informant, wondering if the project is what he thinks it is. As it turns out, the meeting is in Kasumidai, where politicians and military brass get together as they observe the army is searching for a deserter who happens to be the informant they are to meet. Suddenly, Tei disappears too, and retrieving her camera, Raido sees she was taken to the Dark Realm, quickly saving her from zombie soldiers. He also meets the missing informant here, an army deserter named Sadakichi, who reveals Major General Munakata is hoarding high-tech weapons and heading a project creating a special guard from the living dead. Munakata is also remodeling an old battleship into something unsinkable and intends to fill it with undead soldiers before sending it abroad. The Major General will lead this new Soulless Army, and Sadakichi confirms Munakata is keeping Kaya alive and close to him. The deserter gives Raido a code to enter the secret underground facility she's at as Raido heads out to investigate immediately, finding the site lightly guarded. Spotting Kaya, they see her bound in some sort of ceremony as a man overseeing the blood ritual calls out Raido by name. He introduces himself as Munakata, and as a reward for making it this far, explains the Super Soldier project in the hope the Devil Summoner can understand his position. As he sees it, the poverty-stricken masses are under the heel of national policies that suppress them and support the wealthy elite. He insists this is the opposite of enlightenment and a mistake of perpetuating erroneous ideologies of the past. Munakata claims he will save his country with this project, but Raido refuses to join him, defeating Munakata's guards and rescuing Kaya. However, the Major General looks on and smirks that everything is proceeding as planned, grasping a bandage soaked in Kaya's demon blood. Back at the office, Kaya recovers and explains her family has a curse passed down every generation wherein the girls are killed when they turn 16. As her birthday neared, her father put her in the underground cell they found her in, and her uncle suggested saving her through an exorcism. However, when she agreed, her uncle turned her over to Munakata instead, and that was when she escaped and called the detectives. With nowhere else to go, Narumi offers Kaya a job here at the agency as his secretary, and she accepts, cutting her hair as part of her new identity. She tells Raido Munakata was talking to someone about obtaining a crystal ball full of spiritual energy for the Super Soldier project that could wipe out millions of capital citizens in an instant. She suggests they search for its lost resting place and foil Munakata's plan, and searching for clues, Victor is reminded of the Mushoku Fudo, which is a crystal meant to ward off evil from the capital. Following leads, they meet Dr. Tsukumo, who is knowledgeable about rockets and space travel, and directs them to Ginza, where they find it recently unearthed by a construction company. Kaya then turns to Raido, calling the object EL-200 and speaking strangely about the modernization of Japan and how odd the 20th year of the Taisho era is an anomaly of its own. She asks him if he believes that fate is something predetermined or the results of one's own choices. Regardless, Kaya replies that she will wrest a positive future from the chaos-gripping society, asking Raido to join her as she vanishes into the Dark Realm with a terrifying new power along with a sphere. Returning to the office, Raido sees Narumi beaten up by Sadakichi in uniform, revealing he was actually a mole with a mole sent by the Navy on a top-secret mission to spy on Munakata. However, it turns out the Navy was being monitored too, and Sadakichi comes with the demand of Raido, escorting him to the Admiral. The Herald is there too to explain the Admiral has been cursed and is unable to move, and while she can purify him, she needs Raido to deal with the origin of the curse. To trace it back to the source, she transfers the curse from the Admiral to Raido as the Devil Summoner finds it takes him to the Dark Realm. Outwitting a pair of numbskull demon brothers, Raido finds and destroys the old god Hexer, breaking the curse on himself as Sadakichi thanks him and shares more information. In regards to Munakata, he's considered a genius with flawless strategies that almost seem like he can see the future. They know he is connected to the demons, special guard and building a ship underground, and understand he is working in the interest to improve and expand the country as Japan is falling behind the rest of the world. That said, the ends do not justify the means, and loading an unsinkable ship with an unstoppable army of the resurrected dead is crossing a line. Stopping Munakata before it's too late also means stopping the Red Cape phenomenon, which is caused by special radio towers made by the army. They induce a sort of mental breakdown in certain people as a Hirago is born from the negativity in people's minds as they turn into undead. As such, they need a devil summoner to stop the demons, directing Raido to their first radio tower the army built that Munakata also frequents, Raiden 1. In preparation, Narumi hands Raido more powerful ammunition, saying he's going to take action his own way too, adding the Navy only told one side of the story. He elaborates, saying he actually knew the person who proposed the super military project to revive the nation's glory, and there is more truth to uncover about all this. Visiting the unusual radio tower, Raido slips past security by entering the Dark Realm, finding the tower covered in a bulging layer of hundreds of Hirago fused together. The place is guarded by the Special Guard as Raido spots Munakata nearby, who is unsurprised to see the Devil Summoner here and already knows he is being used by the Navy. The Major General tells a story of how one day long ago a man descended from heaven to inherit this land and declared himself the ruler of Yamato, killing all who opposed him as he conquered the country. Modern Japan has risen in a similar way from mass bloodshed, rejecting the Oni as people of Yamato and slaughtering them. Hearing their cries, Munakata will enact their vengeance with the Super Soldier Project upon modern Japan to be complete with an army of Hirago and the spilled blood of the demon that possessed Kaya. He reveals that Kaya's demon provided them with the groundbreaking technology of perpetual motion, adding it will become more common in the future. Constructing a satellite with the EL-200, it will gather enough energy to summon a soulless god. Offering Raido another chance to join the side of the oppressed demons and reclaim the country from those who took this land from them, Munakata is unsurprised again to hear him refuse, turning to the Hirago to summon a demon to kill the detective. Raido takes down the tough foe, but is struck from behind by a sneak attack from Rasputin, who admits Raido did defeat him, but he got better, ready to get rid of Raido now. Ensnaring him in a strange bubble, Raido vanishes as Goto thinks they have been cast into some sort of space-time rift. He urges Raido to concentrate on their world, as he does so, phasing back out of the void, into the capital, but something seems off. Landmarks and people are all different as they make their way to the agency, spotting a cat that looks exactly like Goto that is shocked to see them and runs off as if leading them somewhere. Following it, Raido is shocked to run into a hardened and scarred young man also named Raido that otherwise looks exactly like him. Other Raido accuses Raido of being a shadow, but other Goto pauses him, saying that is not the case here as they tensely agree to visit the Herald and sort things out. She sees he is indeed Raidou Kuzunoha the 14th, but is also an anomaly not from this time and place. The Herald says staying here too long will cause harm to this world, so they need to return him back to his original world as soon as possible. To accomplish this, she tells him of a relic called the Amatsu Kanagi, which can accomplish this, but has been sealed off. She sends Raido to break the seals of earth, flame, and water as he undergoes the trials of power, wisdom, and courage, securing the 3 prisms he needs. With the prisms, the Herald forms the Amatsu Kanagi as other Raido uses a ritual of soul sending to force Raido back to his original world. The ritual works as the duo shakes off the strange journey, quickly hurrying back to the agency only to find a note from Narumi saying this conspiracy with Munakata is even bigger than they know and advises Raido to stay behind as he will take care of things himself. Knowing Narumi cannot fight against demons, Raido heads out but is paused by Sadakichi as a special guard has assaulted his naval base and they were forced to retreat after being hopelessly slaughtered. After Raido went missing in Raiden 1, they assumed the worst and Narumi said he would hunt Munakata himself. Returning to the agency, Raido is shocked to find Rasputin waiting there for him, though the Russian is unsurprised the detective made it back. He also assures Raido he is no longer his enemy since his security contract is up with Munakata, directing his attention to the launch of the Taitsu satellite. With EL-200, it will send infinite energy to the array of radio towers around the capital, sacrificing the city to summon the Soulless God. He admits there was something else he was supposed to do, but gave it up, personally not wishing to be part of Munakata's plan the more he saw of it. Goto doesn't trust Rasputin, but the monk advises Raido to revisit the underground facility if he still wants to stop Munakata, showing him a back way in. Exploring within, Raido finds Narumi there already, and after catching him up, Narumi explains he used to be in the military when he was younger and heard of the many projects Munakata led to strengthen Japan. He adds the Major General's original super military proposal wasn't taken seriously, but it also never involved or harmed innocent civilians as he storms forward to confront Munakata himself. Narumi shouts at the Major General that he's not the man he used to be, and chuckling, Munakata turns and widens his jaw, revealing a demon within that agrees he is no longer human. It introduces itself as Sukuna Hikona, a god awakened by the calling of hatred, and says it has been using Munakata as a vessel for some time now. It also shows them a hologram revealing the completed battleship as the Hiragos stored at the radio tower and within sacrificed civilians swarm out and merge with it. Then, the energy from EL-200 fires out from the satellite, awakening the Soulless God as the battleship transforms into a colossal weaponized demon. Immediately, it sets about destroying the capital as Sukuna Hikona laughs that this revenge has been millennia in the making. Sukuna Hikona attacks the detectives, but Raidou Kuzunoha XIV succeeds in winning the battle as the demon curses them with its last breath. Narumi explains he was really in the Imperial Army, but after becoming disillusioned by being a cog in the machine, he left. Watching Raido, he sees now each person can have a role to play and make a difference if they exceed their limits. Seeing the capital in flames, they fall back to think of a plan as Goto mentions how all of their cases so far have culminated into this disaster. Narumi reviews their cases so far and points at the Taijutsu satellite as powering the Soulless God with infinite energy, so that may be their angle to shutting it down. Not sure how to destroy something in space or even how to travel close enough, they recall Dr. Tsukumo, and it turns out the engineer was already building a rocket to fire at the giant robots stomping the city. Raido shares the plan to blow up the satellite instead, and with intelligence provided by the Navy and translations of the Russian rocket theory by Victor, they have what they need to get started. They find the mechanical marvel Rasputin hitting on Tay in a bar, needing him to run calculations and perform a manual override to get him to cooperate. Victor is fascinated that the Dark Summoner is actually an android, as they force Rasputin to divulge what it takes to reach the satellite. However, to destroy it, their best option is boarding and destroying the control unit within. For this, Raido figures he can put a demon on the rocket to handle that mission. Goto says he'll accompany the demon and will be fine as he's not a real cat anyway, but stresses this may be a one-way mission for the demon he sends. Launch preparations are soon complete as Goto becomes the first cat in space, arriving safely at Taijutsu. Quickly with Raido's demon, Goto destroys the power core as he trusts finishing off the main body to Raido, quietly admitting he's the best Raido he's seen since himself, the original Raidou Kuzunoha. Taijutsu blows up, destroying Goto's body and Raido's summon within it, and the effect is felt immediately by the Soulless God as it loses power and stumbles over. Narumi joins him in making sure the monster is actually down, grimacing at the countless dead and half of the capital destroyed. However, they are shocked as a second battleship mech rises from the river, and standing atop of it is Kaya. She shouts out that changing the past is harder than she expected, not expecting them to defeat the Soulless God Omagatsu, but adds this is far from over. She says she'll leave this present and go to a different point in time in the future to alter things, glaring as she goes. Narumi senses the person they were speaking to definitely wasn't Kaya, but at the same time the disembodied spirit of Goto speaks out to Raido. He tells the summoner to pursue Kaya with the soul sending technique used on him before and defeat the soul hacker that is actually possessing her. For this, they need to power up the Amatsu Kanagi, and Goto tells Raido he can do this with the powerful emotions and strength of bonds he has built with his social links. With his friends empowering the relic, Raido uses the ritual on himself, arriving at a curious place called the Akarana Corridor. The presence within Kaya's voice rings out, jeering that it knew Raido would arrive here, and explains this corridor transcends time and space and is the pathway they use to possess Kaya, inviting Raido to find them. The detective finds this corridor is a means of actual time travel, full of lost souls but also time tourists, as he moves from the 1930s to decades forward in time, glimpsing at the fate of Japan along the way. Meeting the Count of Saint Germain taking a time stroll as well, Raido travels beyond the 2050s into the year 20XDX, where he faces off against the mastermind behind all of this, who says they are trying to change the past to avoid a great cataclysm for Japan, and the future is ruled by terrible fanatics. Society will be a controlled cage, and all they were trying to do was design a better future for humanity. However, Raido has ruined that plan, and they are exiled from their own time, so they are just a lost soul now. Drawing their blade, the mastermind reveals himself to be Raidou Kuzunoha, the 40th, as they clash blades with the 14th, but lose the duel, blaming Kaya's weak body. Summoning the battleship Yasumagatsu to fuse with it, the 40th uses the power of the machine god and the special guard units within to bear down on the 14th. The two protectors of the capital clash as Raidou Kuzunoha the 14th battles versus the Soulless Army, as his summons and swordsmanship sink the invincible ship and slay the immortal army. As the 40th falls, it warns Raido has doomed the capital to a harsh future, but regrets nothing as they fought with everything they had for what they believed in. As the game ends, the Soulless God is destroyed and Raido and Kaya fall through the abyss of time with the 40th still clinging on. Raido cuts them off and saves Kaya, safely returning them home to their Taisho 20 timeline. When she wakes up, Kaya thanks Raido for saving her as they turn to watch the sun rise on a new day. Back at the office, Narumi reads a cover-up story of a massive earthquake devastating the capital, sighing but accepting the important thing as the capital was saved. At this time, the phone rings for the detectives with another case as the two dash off with a distinct green-eyed crow watching overhead. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner Raidou Kuzunoha vs. the Soulless Army has enjoyed the success of selling over 134,000 copies worldwide.